You know, Alex, I was looking at this old mallet yesterday, the one I made when I first started, and it's basically just a club with dreams. It's thick, it's ugly, and you can see exactly where I got impatient and tried to take a shortcut through a knot.
Is that the one that looks like it was chewed on by a particularly aggressive beaver? Because if so, dreams might be a strong word for it.
Hey now, that's a piece of my history. But honestly, it's a reminder. When you first get into wood carving, you think you're going to be Grinling Gibbons, making these ethereal floating lace patterns out of lime wood. But in reality, you're usually just trying to keep all 10 fingers while making a spoon that doesn't look like a tongue depressor.
Well, that's why we're here today, right? To bridge the gap between aggressive beaver and master carver. We've had a lot of people reaching out lately asking how to actually get a foot in the door without spending 3 months' rent on a set of German gouges they don't know how to use.
It's the classic hurdle. People see these massive 40-piece sets and think that's the entry fee. But I'm telling you, the secret to carving isn't having every tool in the catalog. It's having three tools that actually want to work. When I started Shaft Tools back in 2016, I realized most beginners were fighting their equipment more than the wood.
Right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. If I'm standing in the garage, I've got a block of wood, and I've got enthusiasm. What's the first thing I'm actually reaching for?
Most folks think they need a power carver or a specialized machine, but wood carving is really a takeaway medium. You're just removing what doesn't belong. For a total novice, a solid 12-piece foundation set is the sweet spot. It sounds like a lot, but you need that variety, a few straight chisels, some gouges with different sweeps. That's just the curve of the blade, and a V-tool for those crisp lines.
Wait, sweep? You're already using the jargon. Break that down for someone who thinks a sweep is something you do to the shop floor at 5 p.m.
Fair point. Think of a gouge like a tiny shovel. The sweep is just how curved that shovel is. A number 3 sweep is almost flat, great for smoothing out high spots. A number 11 sweep is basically a U-shape, perfect for digging deep channels. If you try to carve a bowl with a flat chisel, you're going to have a very frustrating Saturday.
Okay, so the tool shape matters, obviously. But you mentioned something earlier about sharp tools. I feel like that's the eat your vegetables of woodworking advice. Everyone says it, but is it really that big of a deal?
It's the difference between surgical precision and trying to carve a steak with a credit card. If your tool is dull, you're pushing harder. When you push harder, you lose control. And when you lose control in a wood shop, well, let's just say the wood isn't the only thing that ends up getting cut. I tell people all the time, learn to strop. Even a cheap X-Acto blade performs like a king if you give it a little love on a leather strop with some honing compound.
So even if I'm just whittling a stick on the porch, I should be stropping?
Every 20 minutes or so, it keeps that edge screaming sharp. You want the tool to slice through the fibers like they're cold butter, not crush them. If you see the wood tearing or looking fuzzy after a cut, your tool's telling you it's tired. Listen to it.
Let's talk about the victim, the wood. I've seen people try to carve oak for their first project because they have a scrap lying around, and they look like they're trying to chisel through a sidewalk.
Oh man, carving oak as a beginner is a great way to ensure you never pick up a chisel again. It's like trying to teach a toddler to swim in a hurricane. For your first go, you want basswood. It's the gold standard. It's got a tight, even grain, and it's soft enough that you aren't fighting it, but firm enough to hold detail. Limewood is another great one. That's what the European masters use for those massive cathedral altarpieces.
And what about the stuff we find in the backyard? I get asked about green wood all the time.
Green wood is fantastic for things like spoon carving. It's wet, it's supple, and it carves like a dream. The trade-off is that it's going to move as it dries. It might warp, it might crack. If you want to make a little bird or a caricature go with a dried blank of basswood or butternut, it stays where you put it.
Okay, so we've got our sharp U-shaped shovel, gouge, and we've got a nice block of basswood. How do we actually start? Do I just start hacking away?
Whatever you do, don't just hack. You've got to have a plan. I usually tell people to draw their design directly on the wood. But here's the pro tip. Know where the sharp edge is at all times. Not just for your fingers, but for the wood. You have to carve with the grain. If you go against it, the wood will splinter and tear out. It's like petting a cat. Go one way and it's smooth. Go the other and you get a face full of claws.
That is the most accurate description of wood grain I've ever heard. But what about the 3D aspect? It's one thing to draw a fish on a board, it's another to make it look like it's actually swimming.
That's where relief carving comes in. You're not carving a full statue, you're carving a picture that pops out from a flat surface. You start by setting in, using a chisel to cut the outline of your shape straight down. Then you waste away the background around it. As you go deeper, the shape emerges. It's like the wood is giving up a secret it's been holding.
I've seen you use that tiny V-shaped tool for the fine details. Eyes, hair, scales. That seems like the hardest part. Any tricks for not ruining the whole piece right at the end?
Proportions are the trap. A common trick I learned is that your face is essentially a right angle. If you put the tip of your nose in the corner of a square, the arms hit your cheekbones. When you're carving a face, remember the inside corners of the eyes are the deepest part. If you don't get that depth, the face looks like a pancake. And for the eyes themselves, don't try to carve a perfect iris. Just use a toothpick to dab a tiny bit of dark paint or even just a little hole to catch a shadow. The shadow does the work for you.
It's all about the shadows, isn't it?
Exactly. You're not just carving wood, you're carving light.
Okay, poet laureate of the shop, let's get real for a second. We've talked about the right way, but what's the most common oops you see? The thing that makes people want to throw their project into the wood stove?
Taking too much off too fast. Wood carving is a takeaway medium. You can't put it back once it's on the floor. I've had pieces where I was trying to get a nose just right, and I took one slice too many, and suddenly the guy looks like he's had a very bad run-in with a boxing glove. You just have to pivot. Maybe now he's a boxer. You have to be willing to let the wood tell you what it wants to be sometimes.
I love that. It's a collaboration, not a dictatorship.
Exactly. And look, if you're just starting, don't buy the most expensive Japanese blue steel tools. Get a solid set from a brand like Schaff or FlexCut, tools that use high quality steel but won't break the bank. You want tools that hold an edge. If you buy the $5 set from the bargain bin at the craft store, you're going to spend more time swearing than carving.
So, sharp tools, soft wood, pet the cat the right way, and don't be afraid of the shadows.
You nailed it. And honestly, the best advice I ever got wasn't about a tool at all. It was just make more chips. Don't worry about the masterpiece. Just get wood on the floor. The more chips you make, the better you get. It's the only way to learn the language of the fibers.
That's a good place to leave it. Whether you're carving a spoon or a family heirloom, just start cutting. Tiger, thanks for sharing the wisdom and the beaver mallet stories.
Anytime, Alex. Just remember, folks, your tools should be sharp, your wood should be soft, and your fingers should always, always be behind the blade.
A very important footnote. Thanks for listening to the Tiger Den podcast. Now go out there and make something.